My name is Umaru Sanda Amado, and my guest on Face to Face is the Managing Director of the State Transport Company, STC. Nana Akomea, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
The issue of a state involvement in business, in a lot of aspects or areas of development, people tend to shun away from that. They say, leave the state out of business. So the state has no business doing business. Convince me why the state should be doing transportation.
Well, it's part of the normal business. So let me not even focus on transportation. Let me focus on the state and business. You see, the main reason why people will not want the state to do business is because the probability of failure is higher when the state runs a business. So for me, when we are able to lift state transport to a point where it becomes really, really viable, the state then can let it go. This particular company has been through a lot of difficult times, and the state actually let it go in, I think, 1999, 2000, or thereabouts. It was sold to a private entity, but it still wasn't run well, even under the price. So it became Vanef STC, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to be reversed. The state had to take it back and pay off the private investor who came in. So the trick has been to run the enterprise well. If the state can run all enterprises well, why not? But the problem is that the possibility of failure when the state runs a commercial enterprise is much higher for very simple reasons. When there's inefficiency, the state pays. But if it's a private enterprise, I mean, you are at Citi FM, a private enterprise. If people don't work on time and people don't utilize resources properly and people steal the cameras and all of that, it's the private investor who will suffer. The taxpayer doesn't suffer. So because the private investor will be hit in the pocket if there's failure, there is a bigger likelihood that they would work to protect their livelihoods. In the case of the state, if all of these things happen, they employ people who are not qualified because they are relatives of some politician, and they don't put in a lot of energy and efforts, and they are not making money. The state pays. They will still get their salaries. So the motivation to do well right from the beginning, because of the nature of the organization, there's a higher possibility that a state will fail. But if the state can run it well, it's in the best interest of the taxpayer.
But the point is made that if the private sector can do it, let them do it. So there's the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. They are doing their work. People own commercial vehicles and they are doing their private business. Yeah. All the state needs to do is to provide the roads. We have, even in your space, right, we do the long journey travel or long travel buses. We have these VIP guys, VVIP, and all these other companies are doing pretty well. Why should the state still be involved, especially since it is not as if the state is coming to offer free rides?
Yeah.
Or are you offering subsidized rides?
No, we are not.
Exactly. So why should the state even be engaged in that? Instead of focusing on building roads, infrastructure, you're rather competing with the private people.
Well, so you have a situation where the state has already been in business. And so, because we started as a socialist state, if you remember, in the First Republic. And so the state already has a lot of investments in business. And the state enterprises are many. And many of them have not worked. And if you're going to let them go, you will probably not be able to get full value if you let them go. So if you can work to bring them up, to a place where they can get some value. At that point, I would also be of the view that the state should let it go. Now, if you let some of these state enterprises go, you'll be letting them go for a song.
At what point should the state say this company has become successful? I think I can now leave it or give it to the private sector. Because like you said, when VANEF came in, I'm sure the state at the time thought the private sector could run it, and then it became a mess. At what point do you think your own company, for instance, could be let go?
Well, when a company becomes viable, you would know. I mean, there are fundamentals on how to see viability, and those fundamentals will be known. Operating profits, debt, all of those things. Speaking for this company, we've always relied on the state for the main business that we do, which is passenger transport. The state has always provided us with buses, which means the taxpayer. And when the taxpayer provides buses, and the buses are not run well, who bears the cost? The taxpayer. So the incentive to ensure that the buses run well is many times not there. But in the last couple of years, with the last time the state, after the company had very difficult times, they couldn't even pay salaries and so on, the state decided again in 2016 to give support again. For whatever reason, there are many reasons. Because this is a huge company.
I'll come back to the key interventions, but you belong to a political party that is seen as private sector driven. It is curious that you are advocating for state intervention in transportation.
No, I'm not advocating. I'm just giving you the real situation on the ground. Now, so what I was saying was that the state came in again in 2016 to offer support to this company. 50 buses. Now, since 2017, we have managed to leverage the operation of these 50 buses to the extent that today we've had a balance sheet that now allows us to buy buses on our own.
Okay.
So as we speak, we've bought 100 buses.
I'll come to these ones.
Now, let me just finish that because you understand it better.
Yeah.
Now, so you can see that we are now getting away from the taxpayer. We are standing on our own. If we maintain it and we're able to stand on our own and buy more buses, it will come to a stage where we'll be so profitable that at that point the state can decide to let it go.
So if we allow the state in transport...
The other point too about the private enterprise, my party that you mentioned. So we are employing radical private sector principles here. And so that is where my party's ideology comes in. Jubilee House will not get buses for free. NPP party will not get buses for free. Party activists will not get buses for free. State protocol will not get buses for free. Everybody has to pay because that's what the party stands for. So if, because you mentioned it, I can say that those private sector principles have been brought to bear on the operation of the company. If at a point we're able to, now we've been able to leverage the operation of 50 buses to buy 100. If in the next 2 years those same principles operate and we're able to buy another 100 buses, then we're all over the country. At that point, the state may decide this is profitable, I'll get good value for it. The state may decide to let it go. Mind you, because of the history, we have a lot of strategic properties across the country that belongs to the state that now, if you let go, you may not get the kind of value that you need. So let's see how it goes.
So I think it's more of the argument between the left and the right, politics. So the state is doing air travel. It has failed a number of times and it has been revived a number of times. The state is doing the road transport. There even used to be OSA. I believe that also had state involvement in the omnibus.
It's called Metro Mass.
Okay, so the OSA became Metro Mass. And then we have Ayalolo. Now, if the state should be involved in everything, then the private sector may not really be surviving, considering that the state, which is a regulator, is also an actor. It becomes a problem, isn't it?
You know, now there's no straight line between the left and the right.
It's difficult to see.
There's no straight line. I mean, now America itself, through President Obama, is offering universal health care. There's a lot of opposition because people said, look, we are a capitalist state. People must pay for their own health care. But now they've accepted it. It's still not on the same state as Ghana's health insurance, but it's coming. They've made efforts to throw it out of the courts, but it's staying. So even America, we're supposed to be the bastion of free enterprise and private enterprise and state staying away and all of that. They're offering universal health care. When they got into trouble in 2008, Obama literally nationalized the car companies. So there's no straight. And look at China today. A lot of these companies that are coming here, they are state companies, but they are being run on strictly private enterprise principles. And they are taking over the world. They are still state companies. So there's no straight line. We should be concerned that a state enterprise does not keep making losses for the taxpayer. And they would also be a kind of bulwark against the private sector, because the private sector are operating purely on profit. Time may come when they may hold the public to ransom, and the state may need a leverage in that particular industry to ensure that the citizen doesn't unduly suffer. Okay. So it's a mix. Okay. You play it by the mix. Okay. The bottom line is that the state enterprise should not continue to lose money. Okay. I know there are a few that may not be doing well. STC is not part of that few. There's quite a few success stories. If you went to the housing, the state housing, yes, they're doing remarkably well, delivering housing as they were originally intended to do. You go to DVL and all these places, they are making profits.
Things are changing.